Okay, so I am super excited and also very nervous to be making this video and to be posting this video because it is the first video officially of this channel, Disabled Farm School. So welcome, and oh my gosh, here we go. Welcome to the 12 days of Vlogmas here at my new YouTube channel, Disabled Farm School. Welcome to Disabled Farm School. I'm Rachel, a chronically ill and disabled gardener, artist, DIYer, and sustainable designer. This is Juniper, the house wolf, and co-digger, howler at the moon, etc. I have been trying to start this channel for almost a year. I decided to just get over myself and go for it and bring you along with me. So this is Disabled Farm School, where I try to relearn gardening, DIY, farming, crafting, and other land and home-based living skills within the limitations of my multiple chronic illnesses and dynamic disabilities. Today, I thought I would take you along with me as I decorate the room I'm staying in for Christmas and winter. Now, you don't need to celebrate Christmas to follow me or to follow along for this 12 days of Vlogmas. It's more about coziness and crafts in winter and connecting, and especially across bridges of isolation in this time where a lot of folks who are, especially when folks are housebound, might be wanting some cozy crafting community. So I thought we would do that. You love nature, DIY, gardening, crafting, all that kind of stuff, whether to watch it or to do it. And if you're experiencing any kind of limitations, isolations on your ability to access gardening, farming, crafting, DIY, and really the life that you want, then this is for you. I hope that this can provide you with some coziness and community this winter.
Junie, you want to say hello to the people? Say, oh! Oh, yes, you love the people. Hello. Say, welcome to the channel, everybody. We love you. Hello.
For today's craft, this is sort of the epitome of things I like in a craft. You can do it laying down if you have access to some fine motor skills at the moment, and it reuses stuff that you already have. Specifically, this is an old seed catalog, and they have beautiful art in them. I don't know who the artists are that they hired to do this, but just these incredible, little sketches all over. And it's a lot of paper. It's easily recyclable, but it can also be turned into wintertime decorations. So all you need for this is some old paper that you're reusing that is in colors that you'd like to decorate with. I'm using masking tape. You could use Scotch tape. I'm using masking tape because I have this vague memory that it's somewhat biodegradable. And scissors. We're gonna make paper chains. And all you need to do is cut some strips of your paper that will make the size ring that you want for your paper chain. So I've got a nice stack, and then literally overlap the ends of one piece, tape it together, And then take another strip, slide it through, and do the same thing. And just like that, you've got a nice little chain going. And then you can tape or pin this up. I think I'm gonna put mine back, can you see that? No, here, because there's nothing in all this white mantle space. And these are nice because they're lightweight. So this is my family's house. I don't live here. So I don't want to put nails in their walls, but this is lightweight enough. I think I can just tape it with painter's tape to the wall or the masking tape, and it won't leave a mark. So I thought while I worked on this, I would chat to you about this channel and what it is and how it came to be, and honestly, why I'm so scared just to start, even though it's all I want to do. And hopefully talking to you about that will get me to just do it. And I don't know if it'll be relatable, but at least it'll be done and out there, and then we'll be, you know, momentum is like a precious precious thing. If you, like me, are constantly being interrupted by sudden and unexpected chronic illness symptoms. And so every time I've gained momentum on launching this channel, I have then had a major crash, gotten halfway through editing a video, halfway through, you know, whatever the thing is. And then it feels like, because my crashes tend to last a while, they're quite cyclical, by the time I come back to it, especially with the cognitive, like fog and cognitive crash symptoms, it's like I'm starting over. And in that time, I've had like 6,000 new ideas. So I haven't finished executing on the old idea. I have been unable to do anything. Like, I've just been in bed, getting up to feed my dog and myself for days. And suddenly I start to feel a little bit better. I can start working again. And I'm trying to find the momentum or the energy of that previous project. So that's why I like these small projects, especially something like this, where you're just done when you decide you're done, because the chain is however long the chain is when you stop. I feel this pressure to tell the whole story and to tell it perfectly in order to like really make people want to be here. And it's like, I don't want to make you do anything. That's a terrible consent model. You're welcome here, but you don't have to be here. Like, hang out if you want to, you know? We're chilling. I think it's also always hard, for me anyway, to know where to start the story, because like with a lot of people with especially like complex chronic illnesses or disabilities, it turns out that I've had these a lot longer than I've known that I've had them. And the process of getting diagnoses, some of which I have and some of which I don't, you know, there are some things that are explained and some things that we have theories, but we don't have exact knowledge or diagnoses of. You know, I could start the story when I was 11 and I could talk your ear off, and I don't think I want to do that. I want to craft with you. So I'll start the story a year ago. It's December 2023. At that point, we are 3.5 years into a global pandemic that is still very much going strong and primarily affecting folks who are my community. Immunocompromised people, chronically ill people, disabled people, elders, people who experience a lot of what I experience. It's impacting our ability to be in public space and be safe enough to not either die or obtain even more permanent disabilities through chronic illness. Now, I want to say there's nothing wrong or inherently needing to be fixed about being disabled. I happen to be disabled by chronic illnesses that inherently have symptoms that no matter the context of my life, I would rather not have those symptoms. Radical acceptance is wonderful. Acknowledging that this is just my reality is wonderful. And if I had the option to not have the unpleasant symptoms of my chronic illnesses, I would opt for it. I'm also really proud of being disabled and being connected to this incredible community of creative, resilient, loving people who take care of each other when no one else will. And I just want to give back, and that's a big part of why I'm starting this channel. So it's December 2023, and I have been trying from literally a month before lockdown in 2020 to launch a business. In fact, I have launched a business. The problem is I cannot maintain the business because I cannot work more than 12 hours a week, and I never know when those 12 hours are going to be. Like, it's actually more like I can work 40 hours one week and 0 hours the next 2 weeks. And I don't know when that's going to be as of December 2023. Totally unpredictable flares. At that point, I've been diagnosed with postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which is a type of dysautonomia, dysfunction of the autonomic nervous system, hypermobility, which isn't necessarily a disease. For some people it is, but it certainly can be affecting things like POTS, and endometriosis, which is pretty severe in my case, and which I talk about a little bit publicly, but you'll hear more about POTS and related symptoms and other conditions that are sort of secondary to or connected to POTS on this channel than you will endometriosis. I am a proud supporter of other folks with endometriosis and research into endometriosis. It just involves parts of my body and processes of my body that I don't love talking about in public quite so much. Not because I'm ashamed of them, but because I value my privacy. However, it's all connected, and you'll hear about that. So let me know in the comments down below if you want to, if you share any of those diagnoses, or if you're in mystery land of having chronic symptoms and you don't know what's going on, because the undiagnosed people in the world often end up very isolated. You're welcome here. You belong here. It's all real, whether some doctor has put a label on it for you or not. Your experience is real, and finding out how to live somewhat joyfully, if we can, within our limitations and experiences is kind of the whole thing here. So you're welcome here. So yeah, holler in the comments. Where are you at? Where are you at with the chronic illness life? Or maybe you're an ally. Maybe you're currently not chronically ill or disabled. If you live long enough, you will be. So this is probably a fun community for you to get to know already. So it's not a shock when you enter it. Okay, my chain is coming along quite nicely. Also, I like the sound it makes. If you hate it, cover your ears. Misophonia warning. I think that's so fun. Okay, so clearly even on a high energy day like today when I'm filming, my brain fog is real and I have strayed from the story so many times already. It's December 2023. I've tried to launch a business. I have launched a business. It's not making almost any money, and it's destroying me physically and psychologically. Because the reality is there's a critical mass of work you have to do to maintain and market a business, especially early on when it's small. But because my symptoms and crashes and flares are so unpredictable and so incapacitating, working for someone else has not been an option since really 2017, when things started to get worse for me, which led to me getting diagnoses, which is why I could start the story at any moment. But the story of this channel is that during that whole time of really struggling, trying to get my sustainable design, gardening, and radical sustainable innovation and futures design business off the ground, every time I crashed, I was watching YouTube. Every time I became so sick that I had to stay in bed for days at a time, I was watching YouTube. And I was watching crafting channels, homesteading channels, and disabled and chronically ill channels. And that made me feel less alone. It gave my brain something to do that didn't require a ton of focus. Sometimes if you get brain fog, you might know, or if you get migraines, you might know that paying attention to a movie or show when symptoms are really bad can be impossible. It also made me feel like I had friends. There's a lot that we could say about parasocial relationships, which is the one-way relationship between viewer and media creator or content creator. But I think they are radically healing for a lot of people, and especially those of us who wind up isolated sometimes in tricky circumstances. So that has just been a source of joy in my life. As I was getting worse and worse because I was trying to work more and more, I had a few blips of getting slightly better when I stopped trying to work and focused on physical therapy and what I was eating and how that related to my particular needs. And being in the sunlight as much as possible, for me, has actually like an immediate impact on how symptomatic I am, which is really interesting. I haven't gotten checked for vitamin D deficiency. Before you start suggesting stuff in the comments, I should say, no unsolicited medical advice. Don't do it. Don't do it. If I ask for it, do it. If somebody asks for it in the comments, do it. If they don't ask for it, don't offer it. Or ask if you can offer it. And if they say no or they don't respond, don't offer it. This is a really important community rule here. It's a really important way of showing respect to chronically ill and disabled people, because we've probably heard it before and we might not want to think about that right now. We appreciate your intentions. Just send love instead. Just say, thinking of you, or so nice to connect with you, or hope you have a great day. Okay, so having observed these trends where whenever I stopped working and was able to focus on recovery activities and physical therapy, I started to get slightly better. I still had crashes, but the baseline from which I crashed was slightly less miserable. I finally decided that since every time I tried to make money, I got worse and then couldn't work, that the best plan, if I could afford it, was to take 6 months off completely from trying to work. I hadn't been able to work for other periods of time, but it hadn't been because I had chosen to focus on recovery. It had been because I was just way too sick or way too disabled to work. So having regained a little bit of baseline from physical therapy, I thought, I wonder what baseline I could get to, and then I can go back to trying to plan my life around my capacities and limitations once I sort of figure out my baseline. So I stopped. I just put my business to bed. I didn't even tell anyone I was doing this. I just stopped. And for the first 6 months of 2024, I focused on physical therapy, which became strength training. I was able to it's still with the PT lens, but I was able to get into doing exercise again, which was a huge win and almost makes me want to cry. And spending time with my dog, spending time in the sun. And the other thing I did is I started gardening again. I worked with my physical therapist on the goal of being able to dig with a shovel again without causing a flare. This has a lot of different elements with POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. One of them is being upright, blood tends to pool in your feet, and you can spike a heart rate of like 120 just from standing there looking at a seed in your hand upright, or pass out, or all sorts of other things. Creates brain fog, nausea, headaches, dizziness, clumsiness, fall down because your proprioception gets off. And I also have issues with my neck that trigger my dysautonomia. So the leverage and position of digging in the ground was a really big challenge for me. See, this is what the story just goes on and on. Anyway, the point is that was a goal I had with physical therapy. And in the beginning, end of 2023, beginning of 2024, I was able to dig again. So I started gardening again, very slowly. Very slowly. I would do like 2 shovelfuls a day, or I would work in a container sitting down with a little trowel. I would work with plants that I could already put in the ground and they would be strong enough to resist the bajillion gophers that live where I currently rent. At first, I was just experimenting to see if I could garden without causing crashes. And sometimes I couldn't. A lot of the time, I would end up in bed for multiple days after digging a hole. But I started to experiment and find out that I could do little bits, and actually, it helped maintain a better baseline. If I did too much, which the line for too much could change from moment to moment, or if I did things in certain ways, like bending over too much and then standing up quickly and my blood pooling and me getting faint, dizzy, then I could get way worse. But if I kept doing my physical therapy, which was quite intensive at that point, and it involved cardio and strength, and I kept gardening every day, which is an activity that engages your muscles but keeps you at a low level of cardio, I did better across the board. I still had volatile symptoms, but the center line, the center baseline, was way higher over time. I was miserable when I wasn't gardening because I wasn't doing anything that connected me to other people, community, or contributing to the world. I hate not working. It's been a really interesting challenge in letting go of the sort of very ableist expectations around production and employment in the US right now, and really accepting what I can and can't do, and also realizing that no matter what, I want to be doing stuff. I love making. I love collaborating. I love creating. I love getting my hands dirty. And when I lose access to that during flares, I feel like 30% of myself is missing. And that's a hard feeling. And I think a lot of chronically ill and disabled people can relate to identifying with an activity and then losing access to that activity and having your identity feel challenged. All of this to say, I was finding that I could access gardening again, but I was having to do it in new and creative ways. And I was thinking a lot about the research on what are called blue zones, which are just places in the world where people live to really old ages and stay pretty healthy, whatever healthy means. And the research showing that in those places, a lot of those people are gardening on hills or cliff sides well into their 90s. I live on a hill. I have a lot of the same physical limitations as people in their 90s. And I thought, well, so this is possible. And those are the happiest, healthiest places in the world. That's the theory anyway. Now, the thing they have that I don't have is proximal community. They are living in community. Their communities are designed for them to be able to physically move through them, even when it's physically challenging, like going up and down the hill. Elders are integrated into community with youngsters. Disabled people, temporarily able-bodied people, all are near each other geographically. A lot of us are not in that position. A lot of us can end up quite isolated, especially if you're housebound or bedbound for whatever reason, or you're parenting, or you're working 2 jobs and going to school, or whatever it is that's limiting your time, energy, money, capacity, access. It can be really isolating, and our built environment contributes to that. So I thought, well, I can't currently change my living situation in a way that puts me in community. And also, I'm really unreliable because my symptoms are really unpredictable. But I wonder if I could add the community component, the collaborative reciprocal component, asynchronously through video, just like other YouTubers had done for me. Because that was and is the source of a lot of my joy and sense of connection on days when I can't leave the house and I don't have the energy to carry on an actual conversation. So I started filming. I was supposed to not be working, but I still was working. I couldn't do it. I needed to be in collaboration with someone, and since it wasn't other people, it was the land. So I built up all this footage of different projects, from slowly relearning how to dig and then digging a path all the way up this hill, to testing out mowing the lawn as a form of physical therapy, to seed starting, all sorts of experiments, failures, successes, adaptations in the garden are on film.
There's no sorry, it's too late, and she's out, kind of has done that process with themselves, or approach with this adults. Not that they're probably adults, it's talk about it on cinemas, the cinemas are shut, but I've not seen anything like it. About it,
I was so ready coming out of that 6 months to stop just focusing on myself and to give back to community, to play, to connect with y'all. And also, being on the computer triggers my migraines. Does anyone else have that? Of especially working in a dark environment like an editing software? It has taken me forever to start being able to edit video. So I've been sitting on this idea, all this stuff I've made that I've really wanted to share with the world, and I haven't been able to do it. And that feeling of having a yield or an offering and nowhere to put it, when we see that in ecological mapping terms, it becomes pollution. When there's too much fertility somewhere without anywhere to go, it can poison a lake through something called eutrophication. When we have way too much underbrush that's not getting burned up by small fires regularly in a fire season ecology, then we get these firestorms, right? As we enter more climate chaos. Too much yield offering that isn't getting utilized by someone else who needs it, ecologically speaking, can cause a lot of harm. And that happens to us creatively as well. So all I want to do is launch this channel. So even though I can barely edit, and my very sweet middle school best friend just re-taught me how to do it, here we go. 12 days of Vlogmas is my editing boot camp during the section of the month that I now tend to have some energy, and we're gonna try this together. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so scared. Starting a business is always scary, but this is more than a business to me. This is community, creativity, collaboration, finally, after so long of not having those things in my work and in my world in some way. I really hope you'll stick around. It's going to be a messy journey, but that's kind of the whole point. the whole point of this channel is to bring folks along with me who either relate or enjoy what I'm doing or want to live vicariously because they can't access at the same level that I can on my good days or my bad days, because I might show you some of those too. You'll see me take breaks and just lay down in the middle of tasks. You'll see me have to abandon tasks, including I will probably mess up on my ambitious goals for this 12 days of Vlogmas. But I really want the momentum and the joy and the coziness and the container of connecting to y'all daily here to help me get going. Because starting is really scary, and the part of me that wants to do it perfectly, that part of me is just gonna have to hang out on the sidelines while we get going here together. Anybody else with hypermobility not able to stay in one position for more than 10 minutes without sort of freezing in that position? So how does this actually work? If you're new to YouTube, basically subscribing is free, and it will just mean that my videos, when I post new ones, will pop up at the top of your YouTube homepage every time you check it, especially if you watch them, like, comment, interact with them. And the great thing about this for disabled creators like me is that it allows us to connect to and access our community, which is often people who might not have the budget to pay us directly. And then because YouTube uses ads, we can still eventually monetize the channel without you ever having to pay anything, and we can make money. And it being asynchronous, meaning I can work on it when I have energy and then publish it regularly, even if I don't have energy, works really well for my dynamic, unpredictable disabilities. I'm gonna share my gardening and DIY life with you down in the comments. Let me know what you want to see here. Who are your favorite YouTubers who are doing this kind of thing that I should be following? What videos would you really find fun or useful from me? What are you excited about? I am so stoked to collaborate with you and share with you. What I really want and what I really miss is you, is community, and finding weird creative ways to do that asynchronously from afar is just part of the disabled genius that I've had the honor of learning from in disability and chronic illnesses communities for the last decade or more. And something I want to pass on. Let me know your thoughts. I'm so glad you're here. If you want more of me, you can always check out my website, which is also under construction. That's racheleconomy.com. It'll be linked down below. Me and Juniper hang out over there. And we're testing out like a Patreon-like thing there, but it's built into the website. So that's another way you can support if you want to, but no pressure. That's an extra behind the scenes video where I get a little more personal each month. And there is one gardening class up for sale. It's a video download over there. I'm really excited to hang out with you this Vlogmas. We've got some cool crafts coming up, everything from seed saving to some thrift hauls to making a collage seed box out of salvaged materials and more. I will see you next time here on Disabled Farm School, where gardening is for everybody, and we're just trying to figure out how.